YouTube, what it do? It is your boy Young Soros here, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over why the stock market just closed below one of the most important levels of the year, as well as what does this mean going forward, and Jerome Powell next week, and why I think we are so bearish that it might actually be bullish. And even though I said last week if we don't close above this 420 level we may have a rally, we still might have a rally up just a little bit going into the end of the year before obviously we continue the volatility. So if you guys like what you're seeing here, drop a like down below. Let's jump right into it, starting off with why the stock market has been selling off. It is because of the bonds have been going crazy over the last couple of days. And what I want to show you guys is really interesting, because if we take a look here, you know, the bonds, they're at this key level right now. And last week you had them kind of chill out and then jump all the way back up to near 5% again. Now what I'm hoping happens is that the bonds, they come back down, the yields come back down just a little bit before making this move up to 5%. They're going to get up to 5%. It is only a matter of time of when. It just barely tagged it, but came down, tried to tag it again and came down. And why do I say this? Is because you have a lot of extreme fear in the stock market. Everybody is fearful of what's going to happen, whether that be oil, energy. You also have a gold, a gold bid happen over the last couple of days. It rallied almost 3% on the day, which is kind of odd for gold. People were buying up gold. You had headlines coming out of Israel, all this sort of stuff affecting the stock market, bad earnings and even more, and it was just hard for the stock market to continue to find support. And the window might be closed if we cannot rally before Jerome Powell speaks, or even after he speaks next week. If we cannot rally, then the window is closed and seasonality might not be in the picture no more, and it is going to be an ugly end of the year. But what I will say is that there are a lot of indicators supporting that there will be a rally, starting with the fear and greed index. You are at extreme fear right now, and even though you're at extreme fear, take a look at this. The Nasdaq went green today, or Friday. Nasdaq went green, and even though you had a lot of volatility and people in the markets, everything selling off, Nasdaq was still green. Why was that? Amazon earnings, they killed it, and they were holding up, the Nasdaq. Everything else, though, it was selling off. You had really bad tech earnings for the most part. They were kind of 50-50, 60-40 on the bad side. Amazon and Netflix being the only two that I can think of that really had decent earnings and were able to hold up. Even Microsoft, they had good earnings and then they sold it all off. I talked about that in the last video. But the fear and greed index, we're at extreme fear right now, and every time we've been at extreme fear, this is where market bottoms have occurred, and you've gotten out of here and then you started to rally. Now we are at this point again, extreme fear, so maybe we get a little bounce, and we might, it might be a dead cat bounce, it might be a bounce all the way till the end of the year. Who knows how long the bounce could last. It all depends on what Jerome Powell says next week, how the bonds play out, and if people are going to relax over Israel and stuff like that. Oh yeah, oil is going crazy as well, don't forget about that. And you also have a gold fear buy. You have a gold fear bid that is going on as well. There was a lot going on in the markets, but if we also take a look at this as well, the put call ratio is not too crazy right now. So even though we might have a little rip at the end of the year, you still can get calls and you still can get puts pretty cheap going into it. But every indicator right now is just showing extreme fear. And what's interesting about all this is that there's a lot of reasons to be fearful in the markets, but you have not reached extreme fear yet within the stock market. I know there's a lot of volatility in people doing all these sorts of moves, selling things off, but we have not hit a point where there is extreme fear in the markets. Even though it says there's extreme fear, people are still thinking. When you reach that point where people aren't thinking or just tapping the sell button, they don't want to buy stocks, you have hit the bottom of the bottom. Right now, we are still going to trade lower, go to those 300 levels, and if once we go to 350 and we're still not at that fear level, or we go lower than 350, then it is going to be a bad time going into 2024, because we are going to hit 350 within 2024. I guarantee it, especially with all this other stuff going on, and it is going to be a rough week. Now, like I said, we closed below a pretty important level. This is where rallies either came and died or came and grew strength. And since we closed below here, it is only a matter of time before things get really spooky. And if this trend continues, or you just keep going down and going down lower, you can easily have one of these moves like we had last April going all the way into June, where you sold off all the way from 450 to 360. That could easily happen again. It's just, do we do it now, or do we wait till the end of 2023 to kick off the sell-off? So with that being said, I also have something interesting for you guys. Gold caught a fear bid. If we take a look at gold caught a fear bid in the middle of the day. Different gold companies, everything related to gold, they caught a bid, and that was because of the Israeli news coming out, the different headlines coming out with war and everybody being afraid of the different things. But we're just taking a look at even one gold company. They caught a huge bid, and gold was up more than 2% today. It was absolutely insane. So with that being said, there was a lot going on within the markets. You have to keep watch of the bonds, and now we have to keep watch of gold as well as the US dollar, because the US dollar is also at these pretty high levels. They were at 30 yesterday, and now they're just trading around 30 right now. And once the dollar hits that 30 mark and it breaks out from 30, you are going to start to see stock market carnage all across the entire stock market. Everything will sell off if the dollar just continues to wreak havoc and reach these unprecedented levels. Now, we can still get out of the gutter even though we close below 410. Is it going to be a dead cat bounce where we rally up to 420 only to sell off again? I couldn't tell you, but right now it does not look good throughout the day, and it just kept climbing and kept climbing. Could this be signs that the recession may be here, and people, instead of stacking into bonds as a safe haven, they're going to gold or different assets? It could possibly be, because there has been a lot of volatility outside of just the stock market. The bond market, the volume for the bonds has been extremely high. You had volume for the gold has been extremely high. You know, dollar volume extremely high. There has been a lot of moves happening, and everything is at these levels where it is either a make it or break it point. In case in point, we have Nvidia. They are at make it or break it levels too. They're at 400 right now. So if we do not see this dead cat bounce, if Nvidia breaks this week, it is going to be an ugly week. If we get a little relief before or after Powell, then maybe that can put some air brakes on us before we drop, going into the end of the year. Or if it's not a dead cat bounce and we rally up, we close above 420, then maybe we can get a decent, end of the year rally going before we start the carnage all over again going into 2024. It is going to be a wicked year, and right now this is your last chance. If you're if you're trying to buy this market, this is your last chance. You want to play the rip or do you want to sell the dip? It all depends on what is going to happen with Jerome Powell next week. But you got to pay attention to the fear bid. Like I told you guys, gold is going to be a key factor. Keep watch on Apple earnings. You got bonds. Pay attention to all of it and you will be fine. The fact that we close at these lows of the day, closing below the 420, not good at all, especially on the week. But it is so bearish that it just could be bullish, guys. So that is why I closed out of my Apple short. I took a 1.5 grand profit on the Apple shorts and I shorted Microsoft, even though I was mad that I lost on that trade. I shorted Microsoft when they at the top, when they had those good earnings, made about 2 grand on the Microsoft trade as well. But I am sticking to me not trading options anymore. I'm just going to be trading futures. They can be a good tool, like I said, but well, I get into that in a different video. If you want to talk about more, go watch the last video. I get into that more in depth. But just know this market is nothing to be played with, and there is a lot of volatility. So if you want to make a move, you gotta be patient. Do not make a move just yet, because you could go lower this week and end up right back at 420. You could go higher this week and end up right below 400. It all depends on what happens. It all depends on ISREAL, the bonds, and of course Jerome Powell. So if you guys like what you guys see here, drop a like down below, comment and subscribe if you are new, and I'll talk to you all later.